If you have color-treated hair, we've got all the tips you need. Janet Jackson is here. She's been working hard on the makeover. With a special focus to blonde. So we all know different types of hair might need different treatment. We've got Raya and Veronica, our models today, and we're going to walk through some of the things you need to think about if you've got color-treated hair. Yes. And blonde.
Yes. With blonde hair, it can be very tricky, and anyone with that color can know that it can be a little difficult in terms of maintaining that fresh color at all times, especially in between salon visits. So really with blondes, what we need to know, first of all, is that 1 in 3 women lighten their hair or color their hair light enough to be considered blonde.
Okay.
So we have Raya here.
Right, and the first thing I said is Raya's not blonde.
And she sure
yes,
is.
She is.
She is. There are different levels of blonde, and it all needs to be taken care of.
Okay.
So there's a few things that you do need to avoid. One, a lot of sun, the exposure in the sun. If you're going to be in the sun for a very long time, you want to make sure you use hat to cover it up. Okay. Use products with UV protectants in there, things like that, just to maintain the color. Another thing too with color is that when we do lighten the hair, we're actually removing the natural pigment, the natural color from the hair and replacing it with artificial color.
Okay.
So if we're not careful, we'll do things to remove that, like heat.
Yes.
So you want to avoid using less heat. And if we do have to use heat, you should be using a heat protectant product in there to avoid it stripping the color. Also, shampoos.
Yes.
You want to avoid using wrong shampoos. You want to use ones that are protecting the color as well.
Okay, so there's specific shampoos depending on if you're brunette, blonde, redhead, everything in between.
Absolutely.
Just like we know there's specific shampoos for curly or straight.
Absolutely.
That sort of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another thing blondes want to do is avoid chlorine.
Yes.
And for those of you who can't avoid chlorine and love swimming, a great tip for blondes is to put a leave-in conditioner or even just regular conditioner on the hair to coat the hair before going in. And then once you do that, as soon as you finish swimming, get out and rinse the hair so it removes the chlorine from the hair, and then it won't allow the chlorine to absorb into the color and remove the artificial color that we were talking about.
Or you get a little bit of a surprise. If you go in there without the conditioner on, you could come out with the green hair, right?
Absolutely. And that's something that we see a lot of.
Okay.
So we'll head over to Veronica.
So what I wanted to ask as well is the whole thing with not using heat, is that just after you've had your hair color treated, or is that kind of always if you've got blonde hair?
If you have blonde hair, you want to avoid using the heat. And also what I forgot to mention too is when you get your color freshly done, you want to make sure that you don't shampoo the hair within at least 72 hours of getting it done so that it sticks to the natural hair and it'll avoid the quick fading. So you want to avoid shampooing on a very regular basis.
Got it.
Blonde hair, like Veronica here, she is naturally blonde, but has dyed the hair a lot lighter.
Yes.
With this color, you will see things with like frizz. With blondes, you see a lot of frizzing, drying. You want to make sure you use natural oils on a daily basis. So like a coconut oil, an olive oil, you can concentrate towards the ends of the hair, and that'll avoid the frizziness.
Look at how fresh this looks.
Exactly.
So it looks so smooth, and I think that is something that the lighter your hair is, it's really hard to emulate. So add moisture.
You do. You have to add moisture, and on a regular basis. A lot of us tend to forget that. But most importantly, with color-treated hair, with blonde hair, is using the right shampoo and conditioner. Right. Because when we're coloring the hair this light, it actually is making the hair a lot more fragile. You're losing the integrity of the hair. So you want to put something in there that's going to strengthen it on a regular basis. So a great tip for blondes as well is to treat the hair on a weekly basis to maintain not only the health of the hair, but the sheen, and just to keep it nice and fresh at all times.
Would you do a mask?
You would do a mask at least once a week. Exactly.
Okay.
And they also have the thermal protectant, which again, as we mentioned, you put that in and it actually helps in terms of using heat on the hair.
Right.
If you're someone who uses the heat all the time, which I recommend once a week, but some of us are using it a little more, you would use the heat protectant to avoid any major damage with the blonde hair, because that, again, it is already fragile when we have it this light, so you do want to use things like that to protect it and to keep it strong.
Okay, so you're constantly, if your hair is color treated, you're adding moisture, you're making sure you protect it before you go in chlorine. You're making sure you don't wash it right away after having it colored, and you're making sure you find a product that is specifically for that
the
color
hair. Exactly. Finding a great system is key.
It's key.
Yes, it is.
I love it. You got to take care of those locks.